Hey guys, Triptych here, and we've been starting our discussion about Season 2 for Inner Sphere Wars, and the other day had a super long shift at work, and I was just sitting there cranking out ideas on some paper, and I've put those together, and it's so complicated I wanted to make a video just describing it to you guys, so maybe we could use some of this, or all of this, or none of this for next season. It's just some ideas for you guys to think about. So the idea behind this attack rule set is to handle a lot of the issues we had for this season. The first idea is every attack has a set duration, an amount of time that that attack takes. And so if you have, for example, a raid, it's a 2-day attack. And that means that from the moment you declare it, you have 2 days minus 2 hours so that things don't get out of whack. And both the attacker and the defender, they have to play the battle during that time. But if they do play it right away, the raid will still wait until 2 days are up before it happens on the metagame. And that way you don't have the problem of, on one side of the galaxy, players are fighting battles every single day, and on the other side of the galaxy, it's taking them 4, 5, 6 days to complete their battles, and the whole universe gets a little bit desynced. So this would cause the overall play to slow down a little bit, I think, but if we just allow people to declare more attacks, I think, well, I mean, honestly, the way we've been going the last couple days, we've had lots of attacks anyway, just by having 2 per faction. But I think it could really make it more fair for certain edge situations. Now, I would propose that it is the defender's job to get the fight done. I've been in Fed Suns, we've had a lot of locusts, and we've had a lot of difficult situations where I didn't want to resolve the locust defense within 24 hours because then they're just going to raid us again over and over again. But I also know it isn't fair for me to wait too long to resolve one of these. So the idea is if a fight reaches the end of the timer and it hasn't been fought, then the attacker succeeds. And obviously there will be cases where the attacker isn't around and then the defender will have to file an extension or something. But the idea is, for example, if you have a raid attack, if the attack goes 2 days and the defender does not fight the attack, then the player would succeed in his raid. He would get the resources. 2 mechs would be destroyed at random on the defender. So it's kind of a compromise. You didn't lose all 4, but you did lose something. And then also, just as importantly, the attack lock would not go up. So if the battle did time out, then the attacker would be allowed to attack again right away. So in this situation, it would even be worth it for the defender to just, if I had 4 locusts, to just, post a defense where I lost all 4 locusts, because then it makes him not able to attack me again immediately. Landing lock. The landing lock has caused a lot of problems, but I think this setup might work. So I would say that as long as there's an attack going on the planet, no one can land or lift off at all, except for a very specific situation with counterattacks. So mechs cannot be built or bought during a combat, destruction, or counter mission. However, if there's a raid, they can still be built. So if somebody comes in and raids a factory planet, it won't stop production, but the mechs that were produced during that time can't be used in the fighting. This is to differentiate between, the raids and the recons are really just pokes. It's the combat and the destruction missions where you're actually invading the planet with any real force. So these are the attacks that I would like to propose. You would have a raid. It's a 4-on-4. It has 46 hours to resolve, and I'm thinking like 100,000 mech C-bills and maybe 500 mech parts, maybe 1,000 mech parts, something like that. If it times out, the defender loses 2 mechs. Recon mission would only steal C-bills. It would also be 2 days. You get the intelligence report. If it times out, the defender loses 2 mechs. A combat mission is only really meant to reduce enemy forces because, we've been doing a lot of PCs where we tried to, the real goal wasn't to conquer the planet using PCs. The real goal was to just make the enemy run out of mechs. So this could be combined with PCs. I'm not married to this, like if you guys wanted to change this. But the idea I have in mind is a 4-day duration. It's 2 battles. It's not best 2 out of 3 because sometimes that causes some issues where you want to destroy 12 enemy mechs, but you win both fights, and so you've only killed 8 mechs anyway. But a combat mission, is 4 days. You would steal some mech parts on success, but not civils. Once again, that could change. And if the defender doesn't fight it, they lose 6 mechs at random, because the goal is definitely here to reduce enemy mechs. A destruction mission would be changed a little bit. This would be like the sabotage. It takes 5 days, and your goal is to destroy a structure. Now, the difference would be you get to choose what the structure you're attacking is. Right now, if a faction builds a charge station and a maintenance center and a factory on the same world, you have to try to sabotage at random, and your chances of killing the factory are only 1/3. And, as we've just discovered, you can rebuild structures at any time, so they can just keep on rebuilding the smaller ones, whatever dies. So I think in order to, since we are making factories more expensive for small factions in the next season, I think we should allow people to target a specific structure with their sabotage. It's going to take them 5 days, but if the battle is not resolved by the defender, then the structure gets destroyed. So that's why I gave it the extra day. And then 4 mechs would be destroyed if it timed out. Now, also, this would follow Grayson's idea where if you win one of the battles, then the factory is disabled for like 7 days. You have to win both battles. And then I would say if there is a damaged factory and someone declared another destruction attack, then they'd only have to win 1 fight in order to destroy it. Now, the counter rules would be designed to, if someone is under siege, it allows them to get out. So when you would declare a counter during the battle report confirmation, which means like when the attacker submits the battle report, when the defender confirms the battle report, they would have an option to declare a counterattack immediately. So, they can always do it. And when they do that, they would choose 4 mechs that they have on planet. And those 4 mechs go into the counterattack. And then after that, for the 2 days that the counter is going on, I would say that the person who declared the counter, they can lift off. They can land and lift off their mechs during that time. So that way, if you really need to get off a planet, you can sacrifice 4 of your mechs in a counterattack, and then the rest of your stuff can move. And if someone attacks a planet and they need to get off, it would go, the attacker launches, a combat mission or a destruction. The defender counterattacks. And then once that's resolved, the attacker could counterattack again in order to get off the planet. So the defender does have a way to punish them a bit if they attack a stronghold. But, if you attacked a lightly defended world, then probably during your first attack you dealt so much damage that you're going to be okay to get off early. And this system does not have... The defender does not have the ability to land mechs and then counter. That was something that came into play a lot in Season 1. So, if there's 8 blackjacks on a planet and you launch a recon against it, they don't have the ability to drop 4 atlases and counter you back. They could counter you with their other 4 blackjacks, but you might be able to, get away with that just fine. Still a bit that needs to be hashed out there. Maybe I would say that after a counterattack, the person can just lift off immediately so that you only suffer 1 counter. We'd see. But also, so after the combat is over, as soon as, if the defender did not do the counterattack, then both factions can lift off and land immediately after it being over. And then after 12 hours, the defender can declare a combat attack against the attacker. Not like a raid or a recon, just a combat. If you really, if it's a heavy battle going on. Maybe we would allow them a recon or something. I'm not sure what this should be. But the idea is this way, the attacker has the chance to leave, the attacker has the chance to bring in more mechs, the defender has the chance to leave, and the defender has the chance to bring in more mechs. And then after 24 hours, the attacker could attack again. Once again, these could be hashed out. There's a lot of very specific situations that come into play here. But the main thing I want to propose to you guys are the 2 things. One is the idea that the attack takes the whole time, whether you fight it right away or not. I really think that would even out some unfair situations. And the other thing is, if the attack times out, like if it runs out of time to play the battle, then something just happens. And I feel like that would encourage people to play more of their defensive battles, and it would at least it would put the it would definitely put the onus on the defender to get these fights fought, and hopefully that would encourage people to, well, it would allow us to, if you have a whole bunch of attacks declared against a faction at once, they might decide to allow some of them to time out and fight other ones based on how much time they have, you know. So I'm going to post this in the forum and we're going to discuss it and let me know what you guys think. Now, one thing I forgot to mention I'd just like to add real quick. This system doesn't give a lot of resources when you win like a planetary assault or a combat mission. So you would have to make it so that when a planet flips control, a large amount of C-bills and mech parts are transferred over to the guy who takes it. So if you have a Doomstack of 24 mechs attacking a defensive group of 24 mechs, if the defender just lifts off and leaves after a counter, and the attacker takes the planet, he would still get a lot of resources for stealing the planet. He wouldn't get those as a battle reward. He would get them just automatically when the planet flips.